right. Good morning. Millionaire advice from the ex-boss that you couldn't stand. How's that? Millionaire advice from the ex-boss that you couldn't stand. Good morning, everybody. My name is Roger Barbieri, and I'm the co-owner and partner of SunWest Real Estate Advisors in Greater Kansas City. I'm a former university and college executive, serial entrepreneur, and all-around good egg. I've had teams of 80 plus that have generated over 70 million annually, and these are the things that I have learned along the way that I would like to now pass on to you. So today we're going to talk about millionaire advice from the ex-boss that you just couldn't stand. And odds are the reason that you couldn't stand them is because you didn't understand them. So we're going to talk about the top 5 things, and we're going to go pretty quick through all of this. There's a bunch to catch up on. I've made my notes, so let's get moving forward. And happy Monday. Okay, number 1. Let's keep in mind, hindsight is 2020. All right? Hindsight is 2020. And youth and pride are foolish things. Very foolish. It's amazing the things that we learn when pushed beyond our perceived capacities. I'm going to say that again. Hindsight is 2020, and youth and pride are foolish things. It's amazing the things that we learn when pushed beyond our perceived capacities. I mean, it's a little crazy to think about that. As we're younger, we are pushed in certain ways that make us uncomfortable, and that's where that phrase, you have to become comfortable being uncomfortable, comes from. Because in youth, we don't like to listen. In youth, we don't like to hear. In youth, we don't like to be open to what is being taught to us, because why? We think we know it all. Why wouldn't we? We've been around the block. Heck. But in all actuality, what happens is that as we grow older, and this is not, new information, as we grow older, we continue to look back on those experiences from our youth and our hindsight, and we go, wow, those are the pieces that I can carry with me now and actually put into practice, because they were so ingrained in me then by the boss that at the time I couldn't stand. They were so ingrained in me then, but by the time I left there and moved on to another place, that foundation was already built. And I was able to then take that foundation and move forward in a different fashion, move forward in a different style of leadership, style of management per se, that was more so my own. And I believe that that's what's most important about all of this. And by the way, I think what's also extremely important to point out before we jump into it is that I have absolute respect for every person that I have worked for, besides one. There's one, but we're not even going to talk about that person. That person, I'll never even bring that person up or those experiences up on this. I have so much respect for the people that have taught me, and I don't care if I didn't see eye to eye with them. I don't care if I had a difference of opinion or just a difference in an ideological philosophy of how to lead. I don't care. Now, in looking back, none of that matters, because going through it was tough and it's painful, but that's how you learn. That's how you grow, right? All right, good. So I don't mind those pain points. Those pain points are okay. And you've got to learn to, my wife and I saw this t-shirt yesterday, and it reminded me of a phrase that I used to say all the time. And I can't believe that I stopped saying it. You've got to learn to embrace the suck. You've got to learn to embrace the suck. Hold on to it tight, because guess what? There's a lot of it, especially if you're small business, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you have desires that are higher. And guess what? Even in life, regardless, there's suck. And you got to learn to embrace it. And that's one of those lessons that I was taught by one of my former bosses that I didn't see eye to eye with. That nowadays I'd love to see her on the streets again, sit down and actually have a cup of coffee and a dinner with her, because you know what? A lot of what she taught me is still stuff that I use today in common practice with my teams and when I am consulting. So let's go ahead and let's jump into this. So number 1, the things that your boss taught you in regards to how to be a millionaire when you just couldn't stand them. Number 1, Feedback is a gift. Feedback is a gift. 90% of the time, 90% of the time, if there's something that you don't like being told to do, it's probably because you know that they're right and you didn't think of it first. Chew on that. Like, really, chew on that for a second. I can't even tell you how many times I walked into an office with a plan of action ready to go. And all of a sudden, that person looks at me and goes, well, you know what? The problem with this is X, Y, and Z. You really need to do this. And all that time that I'd spent focused on what it is that I was going to do, getting shot down, don't feel good. I wasn't open. I wasn't open to feedback. Now, that doesn't mean that feedback can't be presented in the right way. It should always be presented in the right way. You know, whether you want to use the cookie method of, a little bit of positive, a little bit of, hey, let's change that, and then a little more positive to polish it off. And you can do whatever you want, or you can just get straight to the point and be direct and be like, hey, here's the crux of it. This is where you're going wrong. This is what needs to be fixed, and this is how you'll get to where you need to be. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that piece either. But that therein leads to a problem. The one thing that I have learned the most out of these 5, and so we'll cover the first one again, feedback is a gift. You have to be open to feedback. Have to be open to feedback. If you're not open to feedback, you are not open to growth. If you are not open to growth, then you are not open to evolving within the organization that you're in, number one. But number two, I mean, it's really just a characteristic that you need to develop and need to work on. To be quite honest, business acumen, having that intelligence is key to leading teams, to leading groups, to getting to where you need to be if you want to become a business owner, right? So you've got to be open to feedback, number one. Number two, I was about to go into this and I backtracked for a second. So the one thing that I can't stand is when you go to somebody and you bring them a plan, and instead of guiding you down a path to correct the plan, you are told how to correct the plan instead. I don't believe in that. I truly believe in teach a man to fish, don't give a man a fish. The old biblical passage. It's real easy. Because when you begin to give people consistently, then they become reliant upon. And if they become reliant upon, then they themselves do not grow, they do not prosper. And if they don't grow and they don't prosper, then they become stagnant. And if they become stagnant, then they fail. And therein lies the crux of that. So how do we move beyond that? Simple. Teach, inspire. And what's another great way to do that? To ask questions, open-ended questions. One of the things that used to drive me crazy when I was younger was that I would go with the problem to my boss, and I'd go and I'd be stuck. And I'd go to her with this problem, and she'd look at me and she'd say, no, I'm not going to do anything. You got to come back to me with 3 different solutions. And if you can't come back to me with 3 different solutions, then you're not allowed to walk through my door. So I'd have to go and find 3 different solutions. And half the time I couldn't find 3 different solutions. So I'd have to just sit there and think about it and figure it out myself. And it drove me up a wall because sometimes it'd take me days to do. But like anything else, all that was doing was strengthening my brain. All that was doing was causing the synapses to just continue to make those bridges, build those bridges. Because I was forced to come up with my own solution. And is it hard? Yes. Does it suck? Yes. Is it a necessity for growth? Yes. Embrace the suck. Be a solution provider. Be a solution provider. That's number 2. So number 1, feedback is a gift. Number 2, be a solution provider. Number 3, along the same lines, embrace the suck. The job isn't always to make someone feel good. Your boss ain't, or as a boss, as a leader, it's not always to make everybody feel good. I mean, yeah, you do want that, obviously, but you've got to be real with people sometimes. And sometimes being real is hard, and sometimes being real hurts. But that's life. And that's fair. That's fair. That's treating somebody like a human being. But again, it's all in how you go about it. So keep that in mind. The job isn't always to make everybody feel good all the time. You can't. You just can't. You've got to be real. And you got to let people know where they stand. So, number one, and now we'll leave that one alone because it's pretty point blank. Don't beat around the bush with folks. Don't play with feelings. Don't play with emotions. Don't play with any of that. People's jobs and their money, I mean, that's their livelihood. It's their livelihood. I can't even tell you how much it pains me sometimes when working for or in corporate America, having to fire a group of people. And I mean, there was a day where I think I fired 60 people. Like we did a mass layoff in San Diego a long time ago, and it was brutal. I forget how many people we fired that day. It was ridiculous. But going into it and knowing for days on end that this was going to happen, but having to hold that in, I mean, that's tough. I don't wish that on anybody. And that's why I believe in just being upfront with people. You know, if somebody, in my opinion, if somebody walks into your office and they know that they're about to be let go, they should be well aware of that. There should be no surprises. And if there is a surprise, then that's on you, my friend. That is on you. As a leader, as a manager, that is on you. Your people should always be aware of where they stand. Always. If not, you're not doing your job. So, number one, feedback is a gift. Number two, be a solution provider. Number three, the job is not always to make you feel good. Number four, when you're on top and things are going good, don't slow down. Don't slow down. That's when you got to keep going. When you're on top and you're crushing it and things are great and you're hitting budget after budget after budget after budget, and I'm not just talking hitting budget, I'm talking going 200% of budget, 300% of budget, and you've got people in the rearview mirror that you're just looking at going, ha, 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 because you're on cruise control. That's when you put the pedal to the metal even more. That's when you don't stop, and that is when you push it even harder because you don't know when you're going to get a flat tire. You push that pedal to the metal, my friend. Don't stop. Don't stop. I'd love to use the phrase can't stop, won't stop, but I don't think I should right now. Probably not good politics. Don't stop. When you're going, and you're going strong, and your team is cruising, that's when you add more training. That's when you add more to the fire. Keep it going. Keep it going. Don't think that just because you got there, you have to slow down. That's not time to celebrate. Celebration's at the end. It's at the finish line. That's there. And what was it? I think it was 23 seconds to celebrate is what we used to be told. 23 seconds to celebrate. By the same boss that I've been talking about. 23 seconds. And by the way, again, these are all things. Listen to me. I'm telling you all of these things that this person told me that at the time I didn't understand, that I'm still like going back. I mean, these are all the things that I continue to use in life to this day. Your ex-boss that you couldn't stand, they already gave you the tools to be a millionaire. So that was number four. When you're at the top, you don't stop. You keep on going. Number five. And this is everybody's favorite. Be accountable. Be accountable. You don't like your boss because they hold you accountable. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And maybe it's not because they hold you accountable. Maybe it's the way that they hold you accountable. Maybe it's that they're not holding you accountable to necessarily all the right things, not all the right goals, right? Where's your personal goals in there? Not just professional, not just budgetary, like where are your personal goals? How are we marrying your personal goals with your business goals so that you can develop those together to get from A to B together? But you gotta be held accountable. One of the things that I was awful at, all right, I'm just getting real. College, I was a speech guy. Right? I went to school, I was a speech guy. Before that, in high school, I was a musical theater and speech guy. I did both. After college, I went into musical theater full-time in New York City. Great, awesome. Did a lot of traveling, did a Broadway national tour, European tour, did a lot of successful stuff. It was awesome. Worked with some great people. And then I move on to the real world in corporate America, where you've really got to be held accountable. And I was not a numbers person, based on what I was just saying. Speech, musical theater, not a numbers person. But I became a numbers person very quickly. I became somebody because of this former boss when she drove me absolutely crazy. She was developing somebody that would go on to build teams and businesses based upon the foundation that she had created. And I hated every second of it. And I was even warned in my interview before I took the job that this person was tough. But I said, that's okay. So I set myself up for it. But I learned accountability very, very well. I learned that numbers don't lie. Sometimes the people who input those numbers lie. But the numbers themselves don't lie. I learned about bottlenecks. I learned about reporting. I learned about week over weeks. I learned how to do it all by hand for a team of 15 that then eventually became a team of 60. Then eventually became a team of 80. I learned how to do all those things. So I had somebody reach out the other day and say, Raj, I would love for you to do an episode on the boss that we used to have. Not quite sure this is the way that they thought it'd go. Listen to those people that have been where you want to be. Learn from those people that have been through the trainings for it. And that doesn't mean that you have to emulate them, but take from that foundation. Take from the foundation, take the knowledge, but not necessarily the ideology. Extrapolate from every leader that you have and become the best leader for you. Right? I can't tell you how many phenomenal people I have had the honor to work for and with. And from each of them, I have pulled out some amazing things. From the boss that I didn't understand the most, which just so happened to be my very first boss in corporate, my first big boss in corporate America. So of course I didn't understand. I'd worked with Broadway directors, hadn't worked with corporate America. Of course I didn't get it, but I learned a lot. So what are those 5 things again? Let's go through them real fast. Number 1, feedback is a gift. It's a gift. Number 2, be a solution provider. Number 3, the job isn't always to make you feel good. Learn to take constructive criticism. 4, when you're at the top, keep pushing. Don't stop. And number 5, be accountable. At the end of the day, when things are the hardest and when you are going through the most growth, it's going to hurt the most. pull out the pieces that work the best for you. Pull out the pieces that you see that work the best to drive others. And find a way to plug it into your philosophies as a leader. The last piece that I'm going to leave us with today is from something that I heard this morning. I get up around 4 and prep myself for the day as much as I can. Not every day is a winner. So this morning, I was listening to a video, which I listen to videos almost every morning, long, like hour and a half long videos on leadership, business development, finance, whatever it may be. But this morning I was listening to something, and I heard somebody say this quote, so I'm going to read it real fast because I'll butcher it if I don't. Feelings aren't real. Feelings aren't real. They are a reaction to a perceived wound that's never been healed. Let's say it again. Feelings aren't real. They are a reaction to a perceived wound that's never been healed. Now, what I take this to mean is that feelings are manifested based upon our experiences from the past. And if you can manifest feelings because they're associated with something, then you can unmanifest them as well. So learn to embrace the suck. Learn to go through the hard times. Learn to extrapolate the key pieces so that you can continue to build a better you, a better future, a better leader, a better tomorrow, a better family, a better community, a better team, a better relationship. Embrace the suck. Life isn't meant to be super easy. If it was, I mean, heck, what fun would that be? You got to have some bad to really understand good. So embrace it. Embrace it. It's kind of like we saw, was it Inside Out? The kids cartoon the other day with joy and sadness and anger and all that. And it's along those lines of when sadness touches a joy ball, and all of a sudden it begins to morph into a color of gold and blue from the two feelings and emotions. That was a more powerful experience emotionally, and something that would truly be greater to build upon in the future. That's life. It can't all just be happy and joy. Even when there's a little anger, a little fear, a little sadness, that's okay. Put it in there with that joy and drive. Because only you know how far you can take it. So listen to your ex-boss that you couldn't stand. Become a millionaire based on their teachings. Be safe. Be blessed. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you later.